I've been working at Horizon Marketing for about 3 years now. It's a medium-sized firm in the city, and when I first started, I was thrilled to land the job. Fresh out of college with a degree in marketing and a minor in graphic design, I felt like I was finally on the right path. The office had a modern, open layout with lots of natural light, and everyone seemed friendly and driven. I remember feeling intimidated but excited on my first day, clutching my new employee handbook and trying to remember everyone's names. My boss, Lena, 41F, took me under her wing from the start. She assigned me to work on a variety of projects, which helped me learn quickly and build relationships with different team members. One of those team members was Ryan, 32M. He'd been with the company for 5 years and was always willing to answer my questions or offer advice on projects. At first, I appreciated his help and thought of him as a mentor of sorts. About a year into my time at Horizon, I met Tom, 30M, at a friend's birthday party. He was charming, confident, and seemed genuinely interested in my work and aspirations. We hit it off immediately, and before I knew it, we were dating. The first few months were like a whirlwind, fancy dinners, weekend trips, and long conversations about our future together. I felt like I had it all, a great job and a loving boyfriend. But things with Tom started to change gradually. It began with small comments about my clothes or the time I spent at work. He'd say things like, "Don't you think that skirt is a bit short for the office? Or you're working late again? Who are you trying to impress?" I brushed these off at first, thinking he was just being protective. As time went on, Tom's behavior became more controlling. He'd insist on checking my phone, accusing me of hiding something if I hesitated. He'd get angry if I went out with friends without him, claiming I didn't value our relationship enough. There was one incident that really shook me. I had a work event one evening, and Tom showed up unannounced, claiming he wanted to surprise me. He spent the entire night hovering nearby, glaring at any male coworkers who spoke to me. I was mortified and made excuses to leave early. At work, I tried to keep my personal problems hidden, but I know my performance was suffering. I was constantly on edge, checking my phone to make sure I hadn't missed any messages from Tom, and struggling to focus on my tasks. Lena noticed the change and asked if everything was okay, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. I was embarrassed and afraid of seeming unprofessional. During this time, I noticed Ryan paying more attention to me. He'd often stop by my desk to chat, bring me coffee when I looked tired, or offer to help with my projects. At first, I appreciated the support, especially since I was feeling so isolated in my relationship with Tom. But as time went on, I began to feel uncomfortable with Ryan's attention. He'd find excuses to touch my arm or shoulder, stand a bit too close when looking at my computer screen, or make comments about how any guy would be lucky to have me. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, especially since everyone in the office seemed to think Ryan was such a nice guy. The breaking point with Tom came about 6 months ago. We had plans to meet some of my college friends for dinner, but at the last minute, Tom said he didn't feel like going. When I said I was still going to go, he exploded, accusing me of choosing my friends over him and saying I was probably going to flirt with other guys. The argument escalated, and he grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises. That was when I knew I had to get out. Ending things with Tom was harder than I expected. He alternated between begging me to give him another chance and threatening to ruin me if I left. I was scared and emotionally drained, but I knew I couldn't stay. I ended up staying with my sister for a couple of weeks until I was sure Tom wouldn't try to come to my apartment. At work, I tried to keep things professional, but I know I was quieter, more withdrawn than usual. Ryan seemed to take this as an opportunity to get closer to me. He'd often ask if I wanted to grab lunch or coffee, saying I looked like I could use a friend. I usually declined, not feeling up to socializing, but his persistence was wearing me down. A few weeks after my breakup, Ryan approached me at the end of a workday and asked if I wanted to go to dinner with him. I was taken aback and told him I wasn't ready to date anyone. He quickly backtracked, saying he just meant as friends and that he was worried about me. Feeling guilty for assuming his intentions, I agreed that we could hang out as friends sometime. Over the next couple of months, Ryan and I did spend more time together, but always in group settings with other coworkers. He was always attentive, offering to drive me home after team outings or bringing me lunch if I was working through my break. Part of me appreciated his kindness, but another part felt uncomfortable with the level of attention. Last month, Ryan asked me out again. This time, he was clear that he meant it as a date. I hesitated, unsure of how to respond. On one hand, I still didn't feel ready for a relationship and wasn't sure I saw Ryan that way. On the other hand, everyone at work seemed to think we'd be great together. Sarah, 29F, who I considered a good friend at work, was always making comments about how cute Ryan and I would be as a couple. Even Lena had mentioned once or twice that Ryan was a good catch and that I should consider giving him a chance. Against my better judgment, I agreed to go on a date with Ryan. We'd planned to have dinner and then go back to his place to play board games, which we both enjoy. I figured it would be a low-pressure way to see if there was any romantic potential there. The dinner itself was awkward from the start. Ryan spent most of the time talking about how he'd always known we'd end up together and how patient he'd been waiting for me to come to my senses. He made several comments about how he was nothing like Tom and how he would never treat me that way. It made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off as nervous chatter. When we got to his apartment, I was surprised to find his parents there. Ryan still lives with them, which isn't necessarily a problem, but he hadn't mentioned they'd be home. He introduced me as his girlfriend, which caught me completely off guard since we were on our first date. His mom immediately started grilling me about my cooking skills and housekeeping habits. She made comments about how Ryan needed someone to take care of him because he was hopeless at chores. His dad chimed in, asking when I planned to quit my job to start a family. The whole situation felt surreal, and I found myself wishing I had trusted my initial instincts and not agreed to the date. After his parents went to bed, Ryan suggested we play a board game in his room. I agreed, hoping to salvage the evening somehow and thinking that playing a game might ease the tension. But when I came back from using the bathroom, I found Ryan sitting on his bed in just his underwear. He tried to kiss me, and when I pushed him away, he said he thought that's what I wanted since I'd agreed to come to his place. I left immediately, telling Ryan this wasn't going to work out. The next day at work, I tried to act normally, but Ryan kept trying to talk to me about giving us another chance. I firmly told him I wasn't interested in pursuing anything romantic with him. Over the next week, I noticed my coworkers giving me strange looks. Eventually, Sarah told me that Ryan had been telling everyone a different version of events. According to him, he'd been nothing but supportive during my breakup with Tom, and now I was leading him on and playing with his emotions. He painted himself as the nice guy who got rejected for no reason. Yesterday, we had a team happy hour after work. Someone brought up the topic of office relationships, and Ryan seized the opportunity to make a comment about how some people just don't appreciate nice guys. Everyone seemed to agree with him, patting him on the back and giving me disapproving looks. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up and told everyone the truth about what happened on our date. I described how uncomfortable his parents made me feel and how inappropriate it was for him to be in his underwear when I came out of the bathroom. I ended by saying that Ryan wasn't the nice guy everyone thought he was, and that he needed to stop spreading lies about me. The room fell silent. Some people looked shocked, while others seemed skeptical. Ryan tried to defend himself, but I just grabbed my things and left. Now I don't know what to do. The office atmosphere is tense, and I feel like I'm being painted as the villain in this situation. Some coworkers have reached out to apologize for believing Ryan, but others still seem to think I'm overreacting. I love my job and the work I do, but I don't know if I can continue working in this environment. Should I go to HR? Look for a new job? I'm worried that if I leave, Ryan's version of events will be the one everyone remembers. Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1, it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation and gave me the courage to take action. The day after I made my post, I decided I couldn't let this situation continue. I spent the evening drafting an email to our HR representative, Lisa, 41F, detailing everything that had happened with Ryan. I included the history of his behavior at work, the uncomfortable date, and his subsequent actions in the office. It was hard to put it all down in writing, but I knew it was necessary. The next morning, I sent the email and requested a meeting with Lisa. She responded quickly, scheduling a meeting for that afternoon. I was nervous all morning, second-guessing my decision and worrying about potential repercussions. But I kept reminding myself that I hadn't done anything wrong and that I deserved to feel safe and respected at work. When I met with Lisa, she was professional and empathetic. She listened carefully as I went through everything, taking notes and asking clarifying questions. I appreciated that she didn't jump to conclusions or try to minimize what had happened. At the end of our meeting, she assured me that the company takes these matters seriously and that they would conduct a thorough investigation. She also mentioned that they might need to speak with other employees who had witnessed any of the incidents I described. Over the next few days, I noticed Ryan being called into multiple meetings with HR and our department head. He started avoiding me completely, which was a relief. Some of my coworkers also seemed to be treating me differently, less coldly and more sympathetically. I overheard snippets of conversations that made me think HR had been interviewing people about the situation. Sarah approached me privately one day, looking upset. She apologized profusely for not believing me initially and for encouraging Ryan's behavior. She admitted that she had been one of the people interviewed by HR and that the process had made her realize how she had contributed to the uncomfortable atmosphere. It was a difficult conversation, but I appreciated her honesty and willingness to acknowledge her mistakes. About a week after my meeting with HR, Lisa called me for a follow-up. She informed me that they had conducted a thorough investigation, including interviews with several employees. Based on their findings, they determined that Ryan had indeed violated company policies regarding harassment and professional conduct. Lisa told me that Ryan had been given a formal warning and would be required to attend sensitivity training. She also mentioned that he had been moved to a different team on another floor to minimize our interactions. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety at this news. While I was glad action had been taken, I was worried about potential backlash from Ryan's friends in the office. To address this concern, Lisa said that the company would be holding a mandatory meeting for all employees to review the harassment policies and emphasize the importance of maintaining a respectful work environment. She assured me that while the specifics of my case wouldn't be discussed, the general issues would be addressed. The all-hands meeting happened yesterday. Our CEO, David, 52M, spoke about the importance of professionalism and respect in the workplace. He emphasized that spreading rumors or creating a hostile environment for any employee would not be tolerated. I noticed several people glancing in my direction during the talk, but overall, the message seemed to be well received. After the meeting, several coworkers approached me to apologize for their earlier behavior. Lena, my boss, pulled me aside and expressed her regret for not noticing the situation earlier and for making those comments about Ryan being a good catch. She assured me that my work had always been valued and that she would do everything she could to make sure I felt comfortable in the office moving forward. While I'm relieved that action has been taken, I still feel a bit unsettled. The atmosphere at work is definitely improved, but there's still an underlying tension. I'm trying to focus on my work and rebuild professional relationships with my colleagues, but it's challenging. Every time I walk into a room and conversations stop, I wonder if they were talking about me. I'm considering looking for a new job, not because I feel unsafe or uncomfortable anymore, but because I wonder if I'll ever be able to fully move past this incident while working here. On the other hand, I don't want to feel like I'm running away or letting Ryan's actions dictate my career choices. I've worked hard to get where I am, and the idea of starting over somewhere new is daunting. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm documenting everything, just in case, and I'm trying to rebuild my confidence at work. I've started taking on some additional responsibilities, hoping that focusing on my career growth will help me move past this situation. I'm also thinking about joining some professional networking groups to expand my contacts outside of this company, just to keep my options open. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thank you all again for your support and advice. It's been incredibly helpful to have a place to share my story and receive unbiased feedback. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and I wanted to share some new developments. The work environment has continued to improve gradually. Most of my coworkers have been respectful and professional, and I've been able to focus on my projects without constantly worrying about office drama. Ryan has kept his distance, which has been a relief. I occasionally see him in the hallway or cafeteria, but our interactions have been limited to polite nods. I've thrown myself into my work, taking on new challenges and responsibilities. Lena has been supportive, assigning me to lead a new project for a major client. It's been challenging but rewarding, and I found myself staying late at the office not out of obligation, but because I'm genuinely excited about the work. However, last week, an incident occurred that shook things up again. We had a client meeting that required representatives from multiple teams, including Ryan's new team. It was the first time we had been in the same room since everything happened, and I could feel the tension as soon as he walked in. During the meeting, the client asked about a project I had worked on previously. As I was explaining some details, Ryan interrupted me several times, attempting to correct me or add unnecessary information. It was clear he was trying to undermine me in front of the client and our colleagues. I could feel my face getting hot with frustration and embarrassment. After the third interruption, I took a deep breath and firmly but professionally asked Ryan to let me finish my explanation, reminding him that I was the lead on that particular project. The client seemed impressed by my handling of the situation, but I could feel the tension in the room. Some of my colleagues were exchanging glances, and I saw Lena frowning at Ryan. After the meeting, my team leader, Mark, 45M, pulled me aside. He commended me on my professionalism and asked if I wanted him to address the issue with Ryan's new supervisor. I appreciated the offer but decided to handle it myself. I didn't want to be seen as someone who couldn't manage difficult situations on my own. That evening, I spent a long time drafting an email to Ryan, carefully choosing my words. I wanted to be clear and professional, without letting my emotions get the best of me. The next morning, I sent the email, copying both our supervisors. I pointed out that his behavior in the client meeting was inappropriate and counterproductive to our company's goals. I suggested that in the future, if he had concerns about information being presented, he should address them privately before or after client meetings. I was anxious all day, checking my email constantly for a response. Finally, late in the afternoon, Ryan replied. His response surprised me. He actually apologized, admitting that he had let his personal feelings interfere with his professional judgment. He promised it wouldn't happen again. While I'm skeptical about his sincerity, I appreciated the apology and the fact that it was now on record with our supervisors. This incident made me realize that while the major issues have been addressed, there might always be some lingering effects from what happened. It's made me more determined to excel in my role and not let these challenges hold me back. On a positive note, I've been taking on more responsibilities at work. My handling of the client meeting situation caught the attention of upper management, and I've been asked to lead a new project. It's exciting and a bit daunting, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity to prove myself. I've also been spending more time with coworkers outside of work, particularly Sarah. Our relationship was strained after everything that happened, but we've been working on rebuilding our friendship. We've had several honest conversations about what happened, and I feel like we're slowly getting back to a place of trust. It's nice to have someone at work I can confide in again. While I'm still keeping my options open and networking, I'm feeling more positive about my future at this company. I'm proud of how I've handled everything, and I feel like I'm coming out of this experience stronger and more confident in my abilities. That said, I'm still cautious and making sure to document any interactions that seem off, just in case. Update 3. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this whole situation. Work has settled into a new normal. Ryan and I rarely interact, and when we do, it's strictly professional. The tension has dissipated, and I feel like I can finally breathe easily at the office again. There are still moments when I catch someone looking at me with curiosity or when a conversation stops abruptly as I enter a room, but these instances are becoming less frequent. The new project I mentioned in my last update has been going really well. It's challenging, but I'm learning a lot and getting recognition for my hard work. Last week, I presented the project's progress to the executive team, and they were impressed with the results so far. David, our CEO, even pulled me aside afterwards to commend my leadership on the project. It feels good to be valued for my skills and contributions rather than being the center of office gossip. My friendship with Sarah has continued to grow stronger. We've become each other's support system at work, and it's made a huge difference in how I feel about coming to the office each day. We've even started a small lunch group with a few other coworkers, which has helped create a more positive atmosphere in our department. As for my career plans, I've decided to stay with the company for now. The new project has opened up some exciting possibilities for advancement, and I don't want to walk away from that potential. Plus, I realize now that difficult situations can arise in any workplace, and I'm proud of how I handled this one. That said, I'm still actively networking and developing my skills. I've joined a professional women's group in my industry, which has been incredibly empowering. It's given me a broader perspective on my career and helped me set some long-term goals for myself. I've also started taking some online courses to expand my skill set, focusing on areas that will complement my current role and potentially open up new opportunities in the future. Looking back on everything that happened, I can see how much I've grown from this experience. I've learned to trust my instincts, set clear boundaries, and advocate for myself in professional settings. I've also learned the importance of documenting incidents and communicating clearly with both colleagues and management. There have been some unexpected positives too. My relationship with Lena has grown stronger through this ordeal. She's become more of a mentor to me, offering guidance not just on work projects but also on navigating office politics and building my career. We have regular check-ins now where we discuss my professional development and goals. I've also noticed a shift in how some of my male coworkers interact with me. There seems to be a new level of respect and professionalism. A few have even approached me for advice on how to ensure they're creating a comfortable work environment for their female colleagues. While I wouldn't wish this experience on anyone, I'm grateful for the lessons it's taught me and the strength I've discovered in myself. To anyone going through a similar situation, my advice would be to stand your ground, seek support both professionally and personally, and don't let anyone else's actions or opinions diminish your worth. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. It's been incredibly helpful to have a place to share my story and receive advice. I feel like I'm closing this chapter now, ready to focus on my career and the positive relationships I've built. Who knows what the future holds, but I feel prepared to face whatever comes my way.